Texas A&M landed a major win over the Florida Gators on Saturday night, but they also may have suffered a big loss in the locker room.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are Locked On the Texas A&M Aggies. I'm your host, Matt Galatson, publisher of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. I am joined today by Harrison Reno. Harrison, Texas A&M got a big win over Florida this past weekend. They were dominant again. Defense took a minute to get going, but once Florida got their first couple drives out the way, A&M really settled in, and I thought it was one of their most complete games that they played all season long. Defense was very good. Marcel Reed was impressive against that Florida pass rush. The offensive line did their jobs. We're going to review the game a little bit more here in the second segment. But despite the big win, and you know, all credit to A&M for the win, they also suffered a pretty big loss on the field. Le'Veon Moss went down with an injury in this game, and it seems to be of a serious nature. Mike Elko came out and said that it's not going to end his season, but it'll be a significant amount of missed time. The injury occurred, I believe, in the second half of the game. I don't have the exact time and quarter that it happened, but it seemed like he rolled his ankle pretty bad. And they haven't announced what the actual injury is, the designation of the injury, to my knowledge, as we were recording this podcast. Maybe that'll change by the time we are done recording, and maybe I'll go post-edit Matt and come in here and give you an update on that. But Harrison, it's a significant loss if he can't be on the field for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, just the initial reaction was, man, oh man, just when they finally have both backs healthy, the other one goes down. Just so I hate it. I hate it for them, obviously for Le'Veon, because in terms of he had his final 4 games snatched away from him last season, or was it final 6? I forget. Had the best season of his career snatched away from him by injury. Now you come back this year, Ruben Owens is finally healthy. They're both healthy. It was kind of a slow start to the year. The passing tackle was really the story of those first few games. And just as they get going, he suffers the injury. And like you said, Elko said he's going to miss significant time. I wonder, in terms of timeline, like what significant means. Are we looking at Le'Veon by the Texas game potentially, or is that a stretch? Or is it like Le'Veon by the playoffs or bowl game? Like, what is the timeline? And honestly, what's the injury? Because really, once we find out what the injury is, then we'll probably start to get an idea typically for what the timeline will be, because obviously there's a few injuries now that they occur so many times, you kind of have a good rough estimation in terms of it's a sprain of his MCL or something like that. Like the ankle sprains now and the tightrope surgery. That's like 4 to 6 weeks. We'll have to figure that out. Once we do figure that out, I'm sure at that point we'll probably know exactly what the timeline is for him. But Matt, it sucks for the A&M offense because obviously now you lose a little bit of depth at running back. You lose an all-SEC caliber player, in Le'Veon Moss. Good news is you haven't had any other injuries at the position so far. Ruben Owens looks like he's kicking into form, scored his first touchdown on Saturday since his freshman season. Obviously, he had that big game the other week. I think the biggest highlight, Matt, and this was somebody I know Georgia was trying to get in on late in the process last year, landing Jamarian Morrow is even bigger now. Because now he's going to be pushed in to a more significant role, considering you're down a guy up, at running back. So I think that win on the recruiting trail is even bigger now, because instead of him getting 3 carries like he did on Saturday, he might be getting, 5 or 6.
Yeah. So Elko did confirm it was an ankle injury, uh, and he also said it's obviously, since it's an ankle, not related to the injury that he suffered last year. Um, you know, I hate this for the kids so much. And we didn't want to open the Monday show after a big win over Florida with negative news, because you should be celebrating because you just beat what seemed like a pretty good football team in Florida, and you did it in pretty much every phase of the game. But this is the story of the day, unfortunately, and it really begs the question: where does A&M go from here? I mean, you mentioned Reuben Owens and Jamarian Morrow and Amari Daniels. They still got EJ Smith, but Le'Veon Moss is the hammer in this offense. He's the guy that's really physical between the tackles and can get you. If you need 3 yards on 3rd and 3, he can get it for you. And that's not to say that Reuben Owens can't add some power to his game or doesn't have power to his game. That's not to say these other guys can't run between the tackles, but Le'Veon Moss is special at it, and that's why he's such a key part of this offense. So, before the injury, he was having a heck of a game too. He had 46 yards on 5 carries with a long of 22, and he had a touchdown as well. So, he was on his way to a big day against a team that had just the previous week shut down the Texas running backs to 11 carries for 15 yards, and he was running all over the Gators. So, and some of that's the offensive line, but he gets the majority of the credit for that because he's a hell of a football player. So, I'm not sure what significant means either. We'll have to see. I imagine, we don't know the exact nature of the ankle injury per se, but I have to imagine he's going to be out at least 2 to 3 weeks. That would constitute significant time to me. You hope that he's back by the Texas game. The fortunate thing for Texas A&M is they have Arkansas this week, who doesn't have the best run defense in the entire world. But then after that, you got LSU and Missouri back to back, who are 2 really good football teams. So we'll have to see. Hopefully they can get him back by Texas at the end of the year, because that's one of the best defenses in college football, as we saw this past weekend. So unfortunate news there for Le'Veon Moss. But let's change the mood, Harrison. When we come back from our break, we were going to talk about the resounding win over the Florida Gators. Both of us were wrong about this one. But we'll get into that. We'll give our game balls and give the Aggies credit for a hell of a win they had at Kyle Field on Saturday night. But stick with us, and we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's this week's moment that moved the game forward is I think you got to go with Cassius Howell in this case. I mean, he's just been on an absolute tear recently, and he once again had a really nice game here against the Gators. He had 3 sacks a week ago, and then he comes out, he gets another sack to his name here. He's up there for sure. Damian Sanford also can be considered in that situation. He coming off a great game against Mississippi State, comes back, hits 8 tackles and a tackle for loss and a pass deflection. Both guys on defense have been absolutely fantastic for Texas A&M. And they've been moving the game forward for him defensively and been really key in that area. So when you follow what moves you forward, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. We love a brain fart in the middle of an ad read, don't we, Harrison? All right.
They'll stop when you get that Mazda you were talking about last week.
They will. I can promise you that. All right. So big win for Texas A&M. They were 7.5-point favorites coming into this game. We both thought it was going to be closer than that. We both thought that Florida had figured something out. And to Florida's credit, on their first couple offensive drives, it looked like they had figured something out. The problem was they couldn't stop Texas A&M. Texas A&M's defense eventually figured it out after those first couple drives and really locked them up. I thought Texas A&M did a hell of a job up front against that Florida defense that just completely dismantled the Texas front the week before. 0 sacks on Marcel Reed. Big number there for the Texas A&M offensive line. The running game was moving. Marcel Reed was efficient. I believe he did throw a pick. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, he did throw a pick, but he was 16 of 26 for 234 and a touchdown. He also ran 7 times for 37 yards and a touchdown. So he was on point. Big game from him in a big moment. Overall, just really impressive on both sides of the ball. Very complete win. Maybe their most complete win of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny in terms of what was it called? We both thought Florida was going to look much better in terms of coming into the week. Obviously, coming after the win over Texas, you're like, okay, this game has a lot more luster to it than it would have had they lost that game. Like I think everybody had expected them to lose that game in the Swamp last week. But it turned out to be, Matt, much more. Obviously, it turned out to be a much more anticipated matchup after the Texas win, but then the actual performance, the actual game turned out to be a little bit more similar to what, the expectation probably was before the Texas win. A&M, decisive, in control, and you go out there, you face a really good Florida defense that I don't think has been given enough credit to this point, and maybe they lose some credit because of what they gave up on Saturday, but A&M's offense has been rolling, as everyone's seen for the most part. But this is a good win for A&M. By no means should you look at Florida's record and say that's a bad football team. That's a game we should win. And I get it. Yes, you should win that game, but it's a really good sign that A&M was out there and controlled that game from the very beginning. Come out with an early drive, you get on the field and you score. Really like them opening up with that play action shot, first play of the game from Marcel Reed. Starting to see that passing game further to flex its muscles, which is a really good sign, Matt, because when you talk about this offense, the story through the first 4 games, we'll say 4, was its passing game. And then over the last 2, it's really now starting to become more well-rounded, more balanced. You start to see that run game start to get going. We had a conversation back in the summer talking about, hey, what are the odds that A&M could lead the SEC in rushing? And we both said, like, yeah, we probably expect, I don't know if they'll lead it, but we were both like, yeah, I think top 3, top 5 in rushing is a very realistic expectations considering what all he had coming back in the running back room and the offensive line. But this passing game has made it so where it's like, yeah, top 3 might be a little bit of stretch now because you're throwing it a lot more and a lot more successful than we all thought. And that showed from the jump. I mean, that deep pass was something that Aggie fans had wanted to see more of. And Marcel unloaded it and he hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Mario Craver with the 67-yard catch there. He ended up with 2 receptions for 77 yards. This dude just keeps getting explosive plays week after week after week. But Marcel Reed found him, and Marcel Reed hit him, so he deserves the credit. My first game, let's go ahead and give our game balls, Harrison. My first game ball goes to the Texas A&M offensive line. Being able to hold that very talented front, granted they're down a couple bodies, still a very talented front, as we've seen the last couple weeks with them, or really all season with them. Doesn't matter if there's an injury, they're still wreaking havoc, they're still making plays. But Texas A&M was able to hold them in check. They were able to get the push up front that they needed to be effective in the running game. And as a result, Texas A&M put more points up on that Florida defense than anybody has all season by a pretty significant margin. So that's got to be my first game ball. Just complete domination in the trenches by the offensive line.
Yeah, and they've played up to expectations considering what all they brought back. I think they brought that 6 starting caliber level SEC starters on the offensive front, like 6 guys. It's incredible. And they've played up to the standard so far, Matt. Like they've been the engine of this football team. When you lift the hood of this, Mazda car that the Aggies are driving on offense, this is the engine right here that's under the hood. And they've been playing at a high level. Matt, I guess first off, we're gonna make it 2 weeks in a row, and he truly does deserve it. Damian Sanford continues to play at an extremely high level. Like we talk about the embarrassment of riches that A&M now has at running. They had at running back, maybe even playmaker in general now on offense. But that linebacker room is looking really scary. I mean, you have Turian York, who is a top 3, maybe number 1 linebacker in this upcoming NFL draft class. There's an argument to be had there. Him and Anthony Hill are doing it out for that. He continues to play at a high level. But fresh off the player of the week last week for his performance against Mississippi State, Damian Sanford leads the team in tackles again, has a TFL, has a pass deflection, or a pass defended, I guess. Pass deflection, whatever. Probably should have been a pick. Because, I mean, he got there. I don't know. He covered ground really quickly as a hook defender. Probably should have been another pick on his end. But just the fact that he got there, got himself into position to make the play is special. I know it's low-hanging fruit because now it's 2 weeks in a row he gets a game ball. But, and obviously there's another guy that's probably going to get one on several guys on defense you can give them all to. But I thought Damian Sanford, not only just being the top of the stat sheet, but considering the circumstances and how he's had to come into the starting role, he's played at a really high level for this defense. And it's starting to look like a defense that has enough talent to contend deep into January. Like, they have playmakers, man. They have it on the back end. Tyreek Chappell. I mean, you saw him on the blitz, got a pressure. In the passing game, he's been effective. Then you look at Cassius Howell. That guy's playing like a first-round edge rusher. I mean, just freaky stuff. The bend on him has been impressive. Then you look at a Torian York, Marcus Ratcliffe, obviously Albert Regis. There's Dalton Brooks. Like, there's so many guys in this defense. An unheralded guy that they got out of the portal that people forget about because the guy opposite of him, Dan Hayes. Like, they got some depth on this defense, and it's really been impressive to watch. And it's one of the big reasons why, Matt, that when we talk about this team in terms of their long-term goals this season, we're saying they're legit. Like, we're buying the A&M Kool-Aid. It's a big reason why.
Yeah, we were talking before the show about whether or not we think this is, competition or if this A&M team is real. This A&M team is real to both of us. I think it's very obvious by the way that they play, the way that they impose their will, 2 covers back-to-back weeks that we didn't think that they were going to cover. And they do it in all the right ways. They run the football with physicality. They play, defense very physically and smart. The third down numbers are incredible for them. I think it's in the last few games they've given up 2 of 33 third down attempts, which is just insane to me. So I mean, they're hitting at all the right levels, and I think you can. This was a game that I think a lot of people thought battered Aggie syndrome is going to come to life. We're gonna drop one we're not supposed to drop. Blah 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 blah. We've been saying that the last couple of weeks out of this fan base. I've never really bought into that. I think Mike Elko is just a different cat, and he has this team playing at a high level. But I think you can throw that out the window at this point. It seems like that's just. I think they just have a different mentality now, and it's that they're a real contender. Point blank, number 1 team in the SEC right now, best team in the SEC right now, and nobody's going to want to play this team in November. Nobody's going to want to play this team in January. Nobody, and I think they're a true national title contender. Great stuff from Mike Elko so far. Great stuff from this defense on both, or this team on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And one more honorary game ball too. I gotta go with Cassius Howell, man. He was in on 2 sacks, 1 total sack. I think he got 2 half sacks or something. I don't know. I've seen different numbers, but 7 total pressures, 87.7 PFF grade. He's just continued to dominate up front, and he looks like a real problem for. I mean, he was going up against a really good left tackle at Florida. So
it's an all-SEC player
from him. Yeah, all SEC player, and he made him look like a high schooler. So he is going to be a problem for a lot of teams going forward. All right, let's move on to our last segment. I don't know how long this one's going to take. Could be quick, but we were going to talk about the Penn State job that just came open somehow, some way, and why it is complete nonsense that Mike Elko's name is being mentioned for this job. So stick with us after this break, and we'll be right back. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the lines live during games. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, and when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, and if you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all the accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals and smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Maximizing investments, increasing savings rate, easily reviewing finances with your partner and/or financial advisor, keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term, etc. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. It's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. James Franklin was fired. We're back, by the way.
He might be investing in Monarch Money. He might be checking it out.
Maybe.
With that buyout.
He's going to be making a hell of a lot of money because he was fired after a 3-game losing streak 3 weeks ago. Just 3 weeks ago. He was ranked as a top 5 team. Took Oregon to overtime. Damn near won the game. Had a chance to win it. Couldn't pull it off. Turns around the next week. Loses a game. They were favored by 25 points against UCLA. Bad loss. Turns around again. Loses to Northwestern. Game they were again favored by 20 points. Regardless of the bad losses in the 3-game losing streak, I mean, I thought his seat might get a little hot. But they just cut ties, man. And now he has the second biggest buyout in the history of college football. $50 million buyout for James Franklin. So naturally, all the candidates start popping up. Who's, the hot boards from Pete Nakos and all these other people. It's free game. I wish I ran a Penn State website because we'd be raking in the cash. The candidates have been pretty obvious for the most part. Kurt Signetti at Indiana, I think he'd be a fool not to take the Penn State job. So that's probably who I would pick to ultimately land it. Matt Rule is another guy that's been very popular. His ties to the Pennsylvania area. He used to be at Temple. But he came out and said he's at Nebraska. He likes Nebraska and he doesn't plan on leaving Nebraska. Which is typically what you say before you take a job somewhere else, but, who knows. Another name that for some reason has come up, and I don't understand it, is Mike Elko. I'm not the one who's putting it out there. Pat Forty over at Sports Illustrated put it out there. CBS Sports put it out there. Sleeper College Football put it out there. And others have also put it out there. Go find a hot board for Penn State, and you'll see Mike Elko's name on it. Why? Here's my thing, and I'll let you get in on this here in a second. But I think that, and okay, first off, I understand the reasoning behind thinking that Elko would be a candidate for this job, right? He has an East Coast background. He's had success recruiting in that area. He played college football at Pennsylvania. And his style of football fits the Big Ten. It fits what Penn State likes. But outside of that, Harrison, I think he would be an absolute fool to take this job. And I think there is zero chance in hell that he will take this job because he's got everything he wants and more at Texas A&M, and Penn State can't match it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't. All right, from Penn State perspective, you make the call. You make the call to Mike Elko, 100%. But from an Elko perspective, and maybe this is just from our perspective. Maybe there's a little bit of Southern bias here. But when I look at the top jobs in college football, and we take out the recent success, and we just look at the resources, there are not many schools, if any, maybe other than its in-state partner, that has the resources that Texas A&M has, like NIL budget, money in general, university money, buy-in, football program, football school, who, hey, they're getting really good at basketball recently. A&M is one of the top premier jobs in college football because everything you need to win is in College Station. You have it all. You have the money. You have the donor base. You have the fertile recruiting ground that is the state of Texas. Probably the best state of high school football in the country. You don't have to go out of the state. You can build a championship roster just in your state. Like, that's how good it is. So when you contrast that with some of these Big Ten jobs, I don't like Pennsylvania football. High school football is good, but I don't think you can live and die recruiting Pennsylvania. The DMV area has gotten good over the years. A lot of good talent come out of there. I look at it and I say, all right, Penn State's a good job. There's a lot of prestige there. Obviously, they won championships not 30 years ago. There's a history there. It's a proud program, but I don't know if they have the resources that compare to Texas A&M. Texas A&M has the resources to be a legitimate powerhouse in college football. And I look at Penn State, I don't see it. They don't have, at least as of recently, they don't have the national recruiting traction of a Ohio State, even a Michigan. There's not as much pull there. They haven't unlocked it. I don't know what their NIL situation is. I don't know if it's very good. I don't know how it compares to A&M, but I can venture to say this: it's probably not even close to A&M's right now in terms of that. So, Matt, I look at that, and I look at the two things we talk about here in terms of when we evaluate jobs, like which job is better. A&M has probably the best recruiting base in the country where you're stationed, Texas, versus a place that's probably top 20 in the country. Probably, maybe top 15. And then donor class. I don't think it's particularly close. Like, not to crap on the Penn State job, but I don't think Elko's the type of candidate that is going to leave his job to go take the Penn State job. Because why does Elko need to leave? He doesn't need to leave. There's no reason to leave right now. And what Penn State is doing, and I think this is also kind of where it may turn off an Elko-like candidate, they just fired a coach that was a perennial 10-game-a-season winner. Like, the guy was the definition of good. You look up good in your Webster dictionary, James Franklin picture pops up next to good. But they decided good is the enemy of great. They want a guy that can elevate them and go make that leap. They've taken the same leap they want to take the same leap that Georgia did from Mark Richt to Kirby Smart. So they've told everybody, hey, 10 wins is not good enough anymore. Like, we want to go win 15. We want to go win 17. We want to go play in the national championship. Why would Mike Elko take that? Because right now, Mike Elko can win 10 games this season and doesn't have to worry about his job. In many cases, if he wins 10 games this year, Matt, even with the way it started, he's getting a damn raise. So at the least, from Penn State perspective, yes, I get it. Elko should be on your hot board. From Elko's perspective, Penn State's nothing. But, hey, I'm looking at him only for the sense that I want a raise out of this.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Lane Kiffin Florida situation, right? Or Lane Kiffin, like every time there's a job opening in the state of Florida, Lane Kiffin's name pops up and he gets a raise out of it. So
now, see, with Kiffin now, it's interesting because this might be the year, Matt. If that Florida job comes open.
No, it's not happening.
You don't think so?
No, not a chance in hell.
Shoot,
no,
Matt, we need to have a coach's carousel episode because I could do this forever. I can talk coaching, hirings. Yeah.
It's going to be a crazy year. Penn State's going to be the job that everybody wants. And I can see
but I think Florida's a better job than Penn State.
It is. I can see one reason. And Penn State's a good job. But it's
really good job.
5. Mike Elko has a top 5, top 7 job. Penn State's a top 10, top 15 job.
And I think you need a specific candidate. I think that's where Penn State doesn't want. You don't want to get a Southern roots guy. Like, I think Penn State needs somebody. If you want to make the jump, Penn State needs somebody that is cognizant and knows how to play in the Big Ten, but also how to recruit in Big Ten country, because it's vastly different from the SEC. There are two polar opposites in terms of the basis. In terms of the SEC has all these surrounding high school states that are really damn good. The Big Ten really doesn't. Like, Ohio's good, Pennsylvania's good, the DMV area is good, but you don't have just one state where you can pull all the prospects from. Like, Penn State they recruit at a good level. Maybe take a step up in the high school recruiting rankings just a little bit, like get closer to being a top 5 class every year. Maybe, just maybe try and get into that. But the biggest thing for them, Matt, is they want to go from a window program that competes every 3 to 4 years to be an every year program. And the way you do that is you do it in the portal. And there's no better guy in the country, or there's not many better guys in the country right now that fits those 2 boxes than Kurt Cignetti, like you suggested. I think Cignetti's the guy for them. He should be the first call, and he should be the final call for them. You can sell me on a Matt Rule, but particularly with look, Nebraska's not really doing much. I know this is his best season, but are you really going to fire a 10-win-a-season coach on his first bad year in quite a bit for a guy that has taken 3 or 4 years to get Nebraska into the conversation of 9-10 wins? Like, is that what we're doing?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And look, I think, and we're running short on time here, so I'm going to make this quick. The one reason I could see Mike Elko entertaining this job is because it's easier to win in the Big Ten than it is in the SEC. That's it. Otherwise, you have Texas. You've been recruiting the state of Georgia really well. Mm-hmm. You got Louisiana, you got Alabama, you got Mississippi, you got Florida, where you've all places where you've recruited well. He's recruiting in an elite level in a talent-rich state in a country, one of the most talent-rich states in the country. He's navigated the transfer portal extremely well. He has roster stocked with elite talent at almost every position. Like you said, A&M's got almost every resource that he could possibly need: NIL, booster money, anything else you can think of.
He has buy-in too. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and the fan base believes in him. The school believes in him. He knows what it means to be an Aggie. I mean, in 19 games, I made the argument in a story that I wrote for Texas A&M Aggies on SI. In 19 games, it can be argued that Elko has already cemented himself as the best Aggies coach since R.C. Slocum. But the stats prove it. I know it's crazy, but the stats prove it. In his first season and a half, Elko has gone 14-5 and 8-3 in the SEC. He's the first Texas A&M head coach to start 3-0 in back-to-back seasons in SEC play. He already has 3 wins over top 10 teams under his belt, something that took Jimbo Fisher and Kevin Sumlin 3 seasons or more in Fisher's case to accomplish. He's managed a top 10 recruiting class in his first full cycle as a coach and is currently trending to finish with a top 5 class in 2026. He turned around a program that was left in a toxic state of disarray by Jimbo Fisher after he was fired. He fixed the culture. He fixed the intensity, the recruiting, the vision of the program. He's given Aggie fans reason to have hope in a program instead of continuing to perpetually suffer from the battered Aggie syndrome we talked about earlier in the show. And those are accomplishments that really can't be measured by statistics or money. But most importantly, he knows what it means to be an Aggie. He has a commitment to build the program into something special for Aggie fans. And that's something that Fisher and Sumlin can never figure out. And it makes it seem as though Elko has the potential to be, the next long-term solution for Texas A&M, a la R.C. Slocum, who was in College Station for a long-ass time. It's like 1989 to 2002. He was here for forever, and he deserves to be recognized as already one of the top coaches in program history, especially over his short period of time. So no, do not worry about Elko taking the Penn State job. I am sticking a knife in that. It's done. Elko would be foolish to take it, and I think he knows that he is in the right place for him and the right place for his future. So anyway, I digress. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. For your second listen today, please check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. It's part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast. Give me a follow on Texas A&M Aggies on a sign on X at Matt Galatson. Follow Harrison on X at Harrison Reno, and we'll see you next time. Oh boy, I did not mean to go that long on Elko, but here we are.